the Office suite is so robust and we implement it for our customers, and there's just so much to it that we figured we should probably do trainings on this, because the more we can help our customers be productive, the more value we bring to them and the more value they have as an organization. So far, they've gone over great. And one that I actually personally don't use is Microsoft Planner, but based on the things that the attendees have asked for and our customers have asked for, it was pretty high up on the list. So today we're going to be going over Microsoft Planner. Kamal actually did our advanced teams training last month, did a fantastic job on it. We got a lot of positive feedback. And we'll also be doing our OneDrive training next month with Kamal again. So I'm going to pass it over to Global Quest and DataMat, see if they have anything to say before I pass it over to Kamal and get this thing going.
I, Mike, I look forward to this training. I haven't really dove into the Microsoft Planner much anyway, so this will be a good tool for us possibly too. So the more we can learn, the better.
Yeah, this is educational for me too. I've never used the product before. Tahir brought it to my attention about a month ago, and I'm really excited to learn about this product and expand it within my office and hopefully my client base.
Yeah, awesome. Like right now, when I look at where I put my to-dos, it's a Microsoft Word document. It's literally just like all the things I have to do, and I just erase them when they're done. I'm like, this can't be the most effective method. So I'm looking forward to it. And if y'all again have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. At the end of it, I'm going to be allowing obviously the microphone and camera for everybody, so we can have a discussion and have a Q&A. So Kamal, without further ado, I will pass it to you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you everyone. And I'm pretty sure Word is the best way. So let's just cancel this. Tell everyone, go ahead and use Word for your tasks. Yeah. But
I knew I
yeah,
was doing
no,
it right.
everybody does it differently, obviously. You have your way. Some people use OneNote. I've seen people use Excel. I've seen people just use, a piece of paper. And I still do it, right? But sometimes when you have a team, and a group of people, you need different ways of doing it. Sometimes you just want to document it in a more like online or in the cloud in different ways than just writing it down, because you might even lose it that way. So Microsoft offers different ways of actually taking notes as well as tracking your tasks as a team or as an individual. And I'm going to go ahead, share my screen, and give you a quick intro on Microsoft Planner. And if you attended the last training, I like to do more of a demo. So I would say 90% of this session will be in demo mode rather than PowerPoint slides. Nothing against PowerPoint, but I personally prefer training that way. So hopefully you enjoy it as well. So again, my name is Kamal Deratani. This is my email address if you want to reach out directly, but you probably want to go through the folks here before you reach out to me. Uh, but what I want to talk about first is that what Tahir mentioned earlier is basically if you don't know what you don't know, you're not going to use it, right? And 67% of people said they would use Planner or want to learn more about it once they hear about the tool. 84% they said they would seek more information about it after a brief demo. So hopefully after today, I could get about 80% of you to learn more about the tool and use it in your daily tasks with your team members and so on. There are thousands of tools that you can use to track tasks when it comes to um, cloud solutions specifically. So you've probably heard of Jira. There's the Atlassian product suite in general. Microsoft has its own tools. Then you have Monday.com, you have Slack, they have their own ways. Box.com, they have some technology. So there are a lot. But when you already use Office 365, it kind of makes sense to use their offerings. And they have three of them, I would say, the main to do Microsoft To Do, MS Planner, and Project Online. There are more. You can track tasks in OneNote if you like that. It just doesn't have a lot of features. There is a checkbox and a way to track tasks in OneNote. There's also now recently more popular SharePoint lists. They improved it a lot, and I would put it here somewhere probably in the small to medium teams as well, like just like MS Planner. But that's not our focus today. We want to focus on Microsoft Planner To me, the way this is how I look at those three tools. MS To Do, Microsoft To Do is your personal task tracking tool. So if you've ever used tasks in Outlook, that's what that's the replacement of tasks. Microsoft is slowly phasing out tasks and replacing it with Microsoft To Do. If you use the web version of Microsoft of Outlook, which I do, there's no tasks. It's only Microsoft To Do. The desktop version of Office Pro Plus still has tasks, I believe. I don't use it as much, but eventually their plan is to integrate To Do. They're finding it difficult as of now, but you'll see more and more how this will change. So To Do is your personal individual task tracking tool. And then you have MS Planner. Microsoft Planner is the next level. If you have multiple people or a small project business unit, then that's the best tool you can use. It's free as part of Office, your license, whether you have E1, E3, E5. Even other licensing options have MS Planner. It's part of, if you have Microsoft Teams, you will have Microsoft Planner. And then the last one is Project Online. Project Online comes at a cost. I forgot what the cost is, depends on your plan, but it could be up to $100 per year, I think, per user. So it's for a large scale project. You give it to a project manager, they will play around with it, assign tasks to people. There's a desktop app as well as the cloud version. So it's very heavy. There's a lot. Planner, you can, stand up a plan very quickly within a minute and get going. So that's just wanted everybody to understand where Microsoft Planner stands in the Microsoft suite compared to other Microsoft Task apps. And we'll jump into the demo now. All right. So first of all, what I want to show you is, yes, you can get to Planner just like any other Office tools from the app launcher on the top left. You can find it. If it's not there, you can go to all apps. You can even go to tasks.office.com. So these are your options, and you can definitely do that. But um, I personally would recommend that you get started from Microsoft Teams. So let me actually do one thing here. I'm gonna reshare so you can see my video at the same time. All right, this is kind of a cool Microsoft Teams feature. Hopefully I'm not too much in the way. I am, so let me do it again without the background right here. Yep, because I'm not sharing PowerPoint, I had my background showing as well, but when you share PowerPoint in Teams, you can just have the cutout of you on top of the presentation. But let's keep going now right here. So the best way to me to get started with Microsoft Planner is from Teams itself. So let's say you have a team site. It's called mine. I have project demo for this presentation. One way you can quickly stand up a new planner dashboard is click on the plus sign here in any of your channel. Doesn't have to be the general. You can do it in resources. You can hit the plus sign and it will show you a bunch of third-party apps as well as Microsoft applications. One of them would be Tasks by Planner. So it's a little bit tricky because they renamed it and I really dislike the way they renamed it. It used to be called Planner. It was green. You can easily associate the icon of Microsoft Planner, the green one with three faces on it, with what's in here. Now they decided to change it to tasks by planner. That's how you would add or create a new plan. The reason they did that is because they wanted to merge your to-do tasks with your planner tasks. So you saw earlier how I showed you that graph that had to-do and planner. So what they wanted to do is create one application in Microsoft Teams that will give you access to both your tasks, personalized, like your personal tasks, individual tasks in to do, as well as any other tasks assigned to you through Planner. So before I create that plan, click on the three dots here in Teams and look for tasks by Planner. This is the app that they have in Teams. And from that application, you can easily see all the teams that you are part of and has plan associated with it, a planner plan, I guess. You can also see your own tasks that you have, what's assigned to do, anything that's important. I don't think I have any planned right there, assigned to me, and so on. To pin it, just right click, pin. Now you have access to anything that is assigned to you directly from Microsoft Teams. In the past, if you haven't used Planner before, it was kind of messy because you wouldn't know where your tasks are. There's no centralized way to see who assigned tasks to you and how many do you have across all teams. The issue I used to have with Planner was I was a global admin to a company with over 40,000 licenses and employees. So people would add me to teams, and I was part of over 100 teams, and they assign tasks to me, and I get lost. I wouldn't know where to go. But with this new app, everything is combined in one place. I can see where the tasks are coming from, basically, if they're assigned to me. If I go to tasks, I see my own tasks, as well as I can look at any lists that I have created in my to do application. So, to do again is the individual one. These are the tasks from it. And then I can go to any of the teams and view all the boards that they have. The Kanban board has a bunch of tasks, but if I go to tasks, it's empty. This is a new board that someone just created. So this is where you can get started. We will play around with this more later if we have time, in terms of like settings, how to manage it, the views, how you can look at the board, and so on. But I want to go from directly teams. I want to go to the general channel, and I already have a Kanban board created. I used the plus sign and I clicked on tasks by planner. You can create a new plan. That's the first option. Name it whatever you want. This will create a new planner board within that channel. But you can also use an existing plan from this team. So let's say you create a plan in a different channel, but you decided you want to merge two channels in one, or you decided to delete that channel, any reason, or you have more privacy on one of them, then you can use an existing plan from this team, and you'll see how I see both of the plans that I have created. You selected, tasks is not really added to this channel, and I can save it. I'm not going to post to this channel because I don't want to show everyone in the post section that I added a new tab. I hit save, and the same tab that I have in planning will also be displayed in my general channel. Now, since I don't really need this, I'm just going to remove it. Don't want to permanently delete it. So going back to that Kanban board, you can that's the plan that I created in Teams channel called General. You can definitely modify things directly from Teams, and that's probably the easiest way and the fastest because that's the point of Microsoft Teams, everything in one place. You don't want to open a new tab. And if I go to the Teams app itself, you can see the same thing. This is this desktop application. If I go to General, Kanban board, I can see it, modify things, add tasks, complete them. I'll do all of that in a minute. But the way I want to show you for now is from the web browser. I want to show you from directly from the Planner app because it has slightly more settings that I want to go over and I don't want to go back and forth. So that's the only reason you would want to go to the web version of Planner is if you want to modify settings and other things. How do you do that? There's a globe icon here on top. That one, if you click on it, it will take you to the web, to Chrome or Edge, whatever browser you have, and it will launch that same app in there. Now, this is a Microsoft Teams tip more than a Planner tip, but that icon works in any tab that you have or a third party app that you connect to Teams. If you see that globe or that circle right there, if you click on it, it will open it right away in your browser. So this is the board that I have. This is usually the home page. And the way it's structured, usually by default, you can create your own column. They call them buckets. So each one of those is its own bucket. I have planning, milestones, next steps. You can add more buckets in here, but don't really use complete, don't completed or in progress or to do, because the reason you don't want to use those bucket, they already exist. The to do, in progress, and complete. After you create your buckets, you can click on the top right option right here, group by bucket. That's where you can see the ones you created. By default, that's the grouping. You can change the grouping to assigned by. So I have one unassigned task. This could help you know who has a lot of tasks, how many, what they're working on, and so on. If something is not assigned, you can easily find this way. I've seen planner boards with thousands of tasks, so it could get messy, and that's probably a good way to filter quickly. Progress, that's the one I said, don't create buckets that say not started, in progress, completed, because they exist. Now, there are situations where you might need to do that. If you want to see exactly who's working on what, you can definitely create those buckets, but it does exist if you want to quickly filter that way. But let's say you want to see how many I have my personally in progress, then you can add on top of the grouping, you can look at the filters. This is one of my favorite features in Planner because I'm always part of plans that have way too many tasks. So this one will help me see what's due today. But then you can also look at priority, progress, label, bucket, and the last one is assignment. This is the one, if I just want to see my own tasks, I'll click on it and then I see my tasks in those same buckets. I have two not started, one in progress, and one completed. I can also filter by, I want to see what I have this week, and I have only one. Do I have anything late? Nope, nothing's late. And I can select multiple. I want to see everything late up to this week, and I'm good. It looks like I only have one that is due today, I guess, or maybe it's past due. So there you go. I have one late task. If I want to search by buckets, I can also do that. Now, how do you create those buckets? How do you create due dates and so on? Now, we talked about the buckets that you have. We talked about how you can group them, multiple options that you have. You can also filter. Now, how do you really create a task? It's super easy. I'm going to go back to my default bucket grouping, and I'm going to add something to maybe next steps. All you have to do is click add task and start typing. Create new training videos. Hit enter and it will create the task. Or they give you two quick options if you want to quickly, if you know who you want to assign it to, you can do it quickly and set a due date. The due date can go up to anything you want. I'm going to say October 26th. And you and with planner tasks, they allow you to assign it to multiple people at once. So this will assign it to myself and one of the admins. There is a limitation on how many people can be assigned to a task. I forgot the exact number. I can check it for you later. But last time it was, I think, 21. They might have bumped it up to 35 or more. But there is definitely a limitation there. Once you're done with it, you can either hit enter or add the task. I'm going to say add task, and now it's created. But that doesn't stop there. The only reason they only give you two options is because they want you to create tasks quickly, right? Task 3, task 4, task 7, right? So I quickly can create multiple tasks and then worry about assigning them and adding a due date. There are more options than just the ones I showed you. And let's click on one of the tasks, the one that I created earlier. If you click on it, it gives you a lot more options. This is where you can start adding more. And if you're a project manager or a lead on a project, that's a that's where you want to click probably to start adding more to that task. You can add a label. They added more colors, but it's limited to those colors. You can't add more colors. You can rename. This one says brand. This I'll call it finance. So you can name it whatever you want, but that's all you have. Those are it's limited number of labels. And I will say this is finance. Obviously, they don't want to create training videos, but let's make them do some of that work. Bucket, I'm going to keep it in next steps. Let's pretend this is in progress. Progress, you can change it only three options, not started, in progress, and completed. And then you can add priority to it. If you add any of those top two, if I say urgent and I exit out of it, you'll see that it has a different icon right here. Start date, I don't really like that start date, due date options, but it helps in some cases. I guess if there is something that must happen after a specific date or after a specific task is completed, that could help. Uh, the reason I don't like it is you'll see in a second there is a calendar view and it will just look ugly on the calendar view. So I'm gonna put a 9/23 as the start date. You can add notes in here. Um, but if you want to add subtasks, you don't want to add it in the notes. You want to add it in the checklist. So in the checklist, you can add Teams training, OneDrive, and I'm gonna say stream videos. I added three checklist items. There's an option here to show on cart. If you check this box and I exit out of that task again, you can quickly see and complete those subtasks. So in some cases, you might say, well, I don't want to create 20 tasks. That's a lot of work and they're all related, then that's probably your best bet is create just one card and add checklist items to it. This also help to know the progress. Like when you say in progress, what do you really mean if it's a very general high level task? So that card can have multiple checklist items that you can complete. Unfortunately, you can't really add any due dates to it or anything like that, but you can prioritize them. So I can move the stream video to the top, and there is an option here on the right. If you were like, well, I've been stuck on that stream video, I completed all of them, I only have this one, and that's why I can't complete it. So let me just click on that arrow, and now a new task will be created in that same bucket called stream videos. It's not going to be assigned to anyone, it's just going to be simply a new task with no details or information. So this is one of my favorite tips there. Um, and then add attachment. Add attachment help. There are three options there. The first one would be from your computer, from File Explorer, you can upload an attachment. My favorite would be from Teams files. This keeps everything up to date. So if I choose this option, I can go to that team channel where the plan is created and I can find one of the attachments that I have. I have this Microsoft Planner training. I'll save it and it's attached to that card. Well, you might ask, why do I want to do that? That's better because now if I click on it, I launched that specific, I don't know why it's asking me to log in, but it launched that specific document and I can edit it and the changes will automatically update. So the next time I click on that attachment, it's going to be updated. I don't have to download, re-upload the document. It's already there for me. So that's why I recommend that option. The last one is from a URL if you want to add a link to an external source or internal, both ways work. You can add a link there. Comments are good to keep track of progress. So I have a blocker related to stream. So I can add that note, send it. Who will get notified? I'll talk about that in a second. But basically, If anyone else added a comment in that same one, then they will also be notified because they are part of that conversation. Now, anyone that has this assigned to them, they will also technically be emailed saying someone commented on a task that is assigned to you. If you're not assigned that task, you're not going to see that comment. This is how that email will come through. It will say that Kamal assigned a new task to you and something around added a comment if there was a comment. All right, so let's exit here. See, there are a few options, but I'll show them from a different way. If you click on the three dots next to any task, you can quickly add a label rather than opening it. You can assign it, and then there's an option to copy task. I've had a lot of people ask me back in the days 2017, I remember that didn't exist, and they're like, I have to create the same task over and over again. Why do they do this to me? Well, they added a copy task. You can copy the exact name if you want to the same board, or you can even change it to a completely different board. This one is not even part of it. You can add assignment, progress dates, description, attachments, checklist, but you can see how label got disabled because labels are different between boards. Another thing is attachments. You might wonder, it's like, well, this is a sensitive attachment. I don't want to copy it to a different team. It will know. So let's say you're moving it to a completely different board outside of your team. This will be disabled. It's not going to move the attachments with it. Attachment will only move if the privacy setting is the exact same. So don't worry about this. It will disable attachments. Uh, and then let's see what other options we have here. Move task and delete it.
I think that's such a important part there because oftentimes when people think about moving to SharePoint or Teams or Plan or whatever it is, they worry it's not going to have the same security effectiveness as a server, where in a server you're trying to go to a certain folder, you're just not going to see it, you're not going to have access to it. When in reality, the same exact functionality can be put in place in SharePoint and all these apps, and they go across the board, which is really nice. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is another option here in the three dots. If you click on it, you can copy that plan. So if you click on copy that plan, you'll notice how it's first going to ask you what's the name. So it's Kanban board. I'll say version 2 and then select group. Now, if I select that same group, you'll see how I can select attachment priority and dates. I don't have, unfortunately, other groups other than the all company, but you can see how attachments is disabled. I can't use it because it's going to think about it and be like, this is everyone. The other team is private. This one was private. This is public. So automatically attachments will not be copied with that board. So that's another privacy setting right there for you. Since I clicked on three dots, let's go through a few items that I have here. There's the conversation. This will take you to the to the Outlook group that you have where you can email all the members. You can check the members. Files will take you also to SharePoint, notebook sites, open in Microsoft Teams if you want to open it that way. Those are the settings that you don't see in Teams. Add to favorites because Planner itself has its own homepage. So you can add any of the tasks to your favorite and it will give you some statistics. We'll go over those numbers in a minute, don't worry about it, but you can add any of the tasks to your favorite. They will show up here on top. And if you have a lot more, they'll show in recent or all. So going back here real quick, you got the three dots, add to favorite, copy plan is what I showed you. If you created a template, that's one of the tips I would say here is that let's say you want to create for the whole company a template and you want to use it across all projects. You have a default task. So every time you work with any new client, for example, you have the same set of tasks. Go through the SOW, assign the right people to the project, do this and that. Then you can create that template with the labeling and make it look really nice and pretty. Make sure it's read only, no one has access to it except the brand team or the leads or the admins. And then when they need it, you can copy that plan and give it to them. Export plan to Excel if you want to do your own statistics, run numbers, put it in Power BI, different places, show it to leadership. You can do that. This is a lot nicer to export to Excel and do some statistics there than the charts that I'll show you in a minute, because you can kind of do your own thing. Copy link to plan. This is just simply the link to the board. If someone lost it, can't find it, you can say, here's the link. And let's get to plan settings. This is important because in plan settings, that's where you can rename the board, kind of make it look pretty. I mean, this didn't also exist a few years ago. It makes a huge difference, in my opinion. Having that background, one will tell your users we're in the right place. That's the plan. I'm always used to it, rather than just the blank one. So I'm going to pick this one, very colorful. And then the next one would be the group. This option is only visible to admins. If you're not an admin on the team site or that planner board, then you're not going to see the group option. You're just going to see general and notification. You can rename it, add a description, make it public or private. So not much there you're missing on if you're not an admin. Notification, you have three options. Also, admins are the only ones that can click on that option to enable it. This one is tricky. Before, Microsoft had it by default enabled. Now it's by default disabled. What this will do, if I check it, every time I create a new task, the Office 365 group in Outlook will be emailed. So basically, every time I create a task, everyone will receive an email. Now, how do you find this? I'm going to go to email. You should see I'm using the web version. There are groups here on top. I have probably that one group. It's not showing right now, but they will get emailed through that group here on the left hand side. Do you need it? Probably you can use it if you have a small team. If you have a large team of, I will say, over 10, it could get annoying, because what are the odds that if you have more than 10 people, that there's a person that doesn't get any task assigned is high. So you don't want someone who's not really doing much for the project getting emails every time a task is even created, completed. So there's so many emails that go through if you check this box. And that's why I would keep it unchecked. However, there will be use cases where you want everyone getting emails. Those are settings by individual, not really admin settings. Everyone will be able to turn on and or off those two options. First one, someone assigns a task to me. You probably want to enable that one. The second one is a task assigned to me, is late, due date is today or due in the next 7 days. I like this. I keep it enabled as well, unless you have a very large planner board and you have hundreds of tasks, that could get annoying. And that's it for notifications on this site. Add planner to Outlook calendar is also only an admin setting for the owners, so you can add it to your calendar. Now let's get to some more cool stuff within Planner. It doesn't only give you that nice board where you can assign tasks, but it allows you to look at charts to see the progress of the team. So I have all the tasks here on the right hand side, but I can also see the status of all of them. I have two tasks not started, in progress one late and one completed. You can also look at the buckets, how things are structured, urgent, medium, low, high, the priority. I like the members one. This section, I've had teams with a lot of people on it, so it allowed me to see who's doing the most work really quick. Now, obviously, you can't really modify this, do a lot more modifications to how it looks. It is what it is. That's what they give you. But this could help you quickly see, well, admin one has one in progress, but look at Kamal. Kamal has one late, like four to five total tasks. So obviously, I'm doing more than the other fake account. So um, that could help you in a project to see who's getting more work done quickly, high level. But I recommend still to export to Excel if you want to do more analysis, pivot tables, and Power BI dashboards. And then you have schedule. Schedule is where I mentioned that's why I don't like start and end date. The one I did start and end date is going to show up all the way from the start date to the end date. So it's taking so much space compared to this one. This one just has end date. This is due Tuesday the 5th. So or this is the 28th. So it's just going to show up on that date. The minute I add a start date, look at this. See, it's now taking so much space. And if you have more than 5 tasks, that's it. They're not going to show up anymore. It's going to start blocking the view. And that's a tip. Maybe you don't think about it initially, but for someone like me who's been using it for over 4 years now, I really just like due date. I don't want to deal with start date. You're gonna start it whenever you start it. Obviously, there are use cases, but that's like how I would approach it. There is a month view, there's a week view that you can use as well. The week view, that's where it gets nicer. If again you had a lot of tasks and taking space, then if you do that, you can see more tasks in one view. I'm gonna change this back to, let's see if I can even remove the due date, the start date here. I removed it and now it's only showing up in one day. If you prefer that view and you want to work in calendar and you know there is always going to be a date, you can quickly just start creating tasks from the calendar view. This is a new feature. Lots of people asked for it, and it's super nice because in most cases you just want to create a task due one day and assign it to someone. That's all you need to do. This is a lot faster than doing it from the board. So you would say, um, "Get me coffee." That's it. Assigned. I can assign to the admin. Gotta do some work, right? Due date is already there because that's what I selected. I honestly haven't seen the next steps. Oh, I see what this is, the buckets. I was like, what is this? Buckets, you can assign it. I'm gonna put it in planning, add task, and it's right there. You can do the same thing if you have the month view. It's right there on top. Add a task. So this is also one of, I would say, top 5 feature for me in Planner at least. So now I showed you all of these. I'll say one more thing about 3 dots. If you know I talked about something, you can't find it, it's not quickly visible to you, the 3 dots is your best friend. That's where you find a lot more things. And if you click on it, it will give you a lot more settings and options. It works wherever you are in Microsoft 365. 3 dots is like magic. It gives you a lot more than you expect. Whatever you're looking for is usually in those 3 dots. All right, so I'm going to go back to that board and now we'll talk about members. That's the last thing I didn't talk about here. You can quickly add anyone to that team. You can also do it from Microsoft Teams. Since this one was originally created as part of a Microsoft Teams site, you can simply add those users as member to the team site and they'll have access to the whole team as well as all of the planners that are part of that team. If you add them from here only, they will only be added to that planner board. So this could cause some problems with access to the attachments and so on. So you probably just want to add them from Teams so they can see everything the right way. And then let's look at the settings here where you can see your license and there's another option for notifications right there. Same ones, you can view them from a different place. Some of you may not see theme and all that stuff, depends on your organization settings. On the left-hand side, I'm gonna click on the Planner Hub. Planner Hub, as I said, that's where you can see all the boards that you favorite, you always wanna work on, and it gives you that same statistics that we saw in the earlier dashboard. You can see how many tasks are left in progress and so on. If you are an agile team and you want to create sprints, you want to work, instead of having most of those are Kanban boards. If you know that terminology, Kanban is basically you create a task or a to do for your project or team and you work on it whenever you get a chance to, or you add a due dates and so on. With agile methodology and DevOps, what they do, especially for developers, they would work in sprints. Sprints are 2 week iterations, and there's Scrum. Scrum is a 24-hour period where you do stand up and work in 1 day on items. Now, if you do that, Planner doesn't have an obvious way of doing that because you can't create sprints and then add people to it. You probably would need to create just buckets, and it's not very easy. My best recommendation, if you do that, and I know probably not a lot of you do, is to create one sprint, like a template, and then copy from it. And then you favorite, you call it sprint one, let's say. You add all the tasks to it. Once you're done, you just archive it, stop using it. If you have cards that weren't completed in the 2 week sprint, then again, that's what I showed you. You can move the task to the next sprint. So more manual work than in Jira and other applications that are built for agile teams, but you can make it work. I'm not saying it's perfect, but you can definitely make it work and save money there on Jira licensing. That's all I had on Planner. We can get into question. I left 15 minutes. Perfect. We're on time. We can go cover some of those questions if there are any.
Awesome. Yeah, so we're going to open it up for questions now. While we're waiting for some questions to come through, you can do it in the chat if you'd like. A couple points here that I really appreciate, Kamal. One, just how thorough the presentation was. I know it was long, everybody. We do have a recording of this that we'll be sending out, so don't worry if you wanted to go back and look at some of the things that Kamal covered. We're gonna have the recording sent out to everybody. We also make nice tips out of these. So some of the tips that Kamal mentioned, they're gonna be on all of our YouTube pages, Data Magic, Global Quest, Alltech. So if you're following our YouTube pages, you can get those clips as well. So I'm a big fan of checklists, and this makes checklists very easy. Like the Checklist Manifesto is a very popular book that basically showed how surgical errors could be very um, reduced quite a bit with a checklist. So this makes sure that when you have a project such as a new client onboarding, for instance, that nothing is missed because each one of those items have to be assigned to somebody and has to be checked. So setting up a template and planner and say, okay, this is what an onboarding looks like, or this is what this project looks like, and make sure that each piece goes gets checked. Now, most businesses have something that they use for this type of checklist already. But what we find with all of these Microsoft applications is that there's so much redundancy with what organizations are paying for, right? So some organizations are paying for project management software, or they're paying for Dropbox, or they're paying for something outside of Microsoft when their subscription includes applications that could get rid of those. So that's also part of this training as well, as showing you what other tools you may be able to use that you're using somewhere else and paying for on a monthly basis. We use a project management software that we pay a couple $100 a month for, and I'm looking at Planner going, this might be the better option. We already have Microsoft, we already pay for it, and it could definitely fulfill the role based on this training.
Yes,
So
absolutely. And I'll add a couple more things here. This
yeah,
was more of like an intro to Planner. There's so much more that you can do when it comes to best practices as well as technical work because Planner integrates with the Power Platform suite within Microsoft 365. So I've done so many projects where we would implement an automation with Planner where if a task is created, do this and that. Some people, I had um, a, a company that I worked with, and they wanted to do onboarding and make it easy, but they wanted visualization in Planner, but they still wanted to save everything in a SharePoint list because they didn't want to click on export to Excel. So when you save in list, then you can connect that list to Power BI. So the whole project was every time a task is created, bunch of things happen through Power Automate. There's a workflow process that happens in the back end, so onboarding happens correctly. And then we are saving things in SharePoint list. Eventually, Power BI dashboard is created, and leadership has visibility and HR on who's being onboarded, who's approving what. So this was a lot more technical than simply creating a task, assigning it to someone, and completing it. This was We turned planner from just a simple whiteboard that you had sticky notes to it technically to an automated workflow process.
Absolutely. We have, and I'm still waiting on some questions to come through. So in the meantime, I have some additional input on exactly what you're talking about. Microsoft Teams, we have some customers that just use it as a chat function, which fantastic. If that's the benefit you want out of Teams and it's an easy way to communicate with your team through basically instant messaging, and that's all you need it to be, perfect. We have another customer that uses basically their entire workflow all day is in Microsoft Teams. They can get to Planner, they can get to all their files, they can communicate with their teams through Teams. So these applications can be as simple as they need to be, or as robust as they need to be. So I guess that's why we have to do so much training. It's one thing to say all these things that Microsoft can do, and it's another to be like, look, this is how you do it.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely. And here's, since we're waiting on some chat questions, let's look at more advanced features or things that I just like, maybe not advanced. Some people might know it. Here in Teams, if you get a message from someone, so admin one said we need to buy more printers. So I can click on that three dots here in Teams, and there's a more actions button, and you can create a task
oh wow,
directly from a conversation in Microsoft Teams. Again, that's where I mentioned three dots. Like, how were you? Who's gonna click on three dots and go to more action, really, right? So, this is a very hidden feature, but could be very helpful. Create a task, and obviously, it's not gonna just create it. It's gonna give you like, hey, rename it, because if someone sent a lot of text, you don't want to name the task the whole conversation. So you can. I'm just gonna say buy more printers, create an I'm going to say project demo. You see, these ones are my to do tasks. If I just want to add it to myself, someone said, hey, Kamal, can you do this? I can add it to my own project tasks. But this one I think would be an important one for the Kanban board that we have. I'm going to say, I'm already working on this. I'm going to put it in planning. I'm going to give myself a due date of Friday. And it will automatically add the link to that chat conversation that we have. Post a reply. I'm gonna, yes, post a reply to tell him like, stop bugging me, I am working on it. So now I created a task. It will show up as a card in Microsoft Teams. So those are just small tips and benefits there that you can also use Planner for.
like that right there, that is going to be a tech tip for sure, right? 30 seconds, nice and easy. Go on our YouTube, you done. That's great. I also have allowed mics for everybody, so if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question that way, that works as well. And I do want to pose a question to Shane or Mike, whoever wants to answer. So Microsoft 365, obviously a lot of data is in there, whether customers have on-site servers now or not. A lot of data is in Microsoft. So Shane, what are you recommending from a redundancy perspective? Should customers just trust Microsoft to keep their data safe, or you recommend anything in addition to that?
No, thanks for throwing that softball up to me there.
I'm like, alley oop.
No, that is a misconception that Microsoft's actually responsible for your data, and that's absolutely not the truth. So you do need to look at some other products. We happen to use Datto, their product. It's called Backupify, and it backs up all the OneDrive, the SharePoint, the mail, the contacts, calendar events, all of those things, and it's relatively inexpensive to do it as well. It's like a couple bucks a mailbox. So make sure you get those backed up, and doesn't have to be everybody in the organization, but definitely if you have like a shared OneDrive or SharePoint, you want that mailbox to be backed up. And typically the business owners and the heavy hitters in the organization, it's nice to have that feature in there.
Absolutely. And then Mike,
Yeah, the planner data is stored up in the SharePoint Online Document Library. So the product that Shane mentioned, Datto SaaS or Backupify, we use the same product. So all that data will be backed up by Datto SaaS. So have a recovery plan just in case one of those users removes data and you need to get it back. And getting data back from Microsoft is very difficult. So a product like Datto SaaS is a great add-on to your Office 365 instance.
What are you guys using, Taher, for
we
your
use
back?
we use Dropsuite, and yeah, it's a couple bucks a mailbox, and backs up all of Microsoft 365 Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, email, all those things. And we've used it successfully for a long time. Works great. Hey, I lost this email. Oh, here it is in your backup. So it's really nice. In addition to like one of the greatest benefits of the cloud is you can access it from anywhere, right? You can access your SharePoint, OneDrive, etc., from anywhere. But one of the biggest risks of cloud is you can access from anywhere, right? So it's the greatest benefit and can also be the greatest security issue if the right things aren't in place. Mike or Shane, can y'all elaborate a little bit on some of the security layers that you recommend for customers if they're moving more into a cloud environment such as SharePoint?
Yeah, bare minimum, we like to see them geofence their Office 365 to make sure foreign users cannot get authentication into the platform. If you do have users overseas, we can make that more granular. Say you got a user in Italy, we can open up Italy so they can access that SharePoint instance or Office 365 instance in the US. And MFA, super important, multi-factor authentication on any cloud application. You know, it's important today. Users are very lazy with passwords. They use password reuse, which they use at home, they use at work. So to secure your stuff, MFA and back it up.
Yeah, and the other thing, when you go to that MFA, I know we're rolling out Duo to lots of our clients, and it's a single sign-on multi-factor authentication. You don't have to put in a code. It just sends a check mark, red check mark yes, or green check mark yes, or X red, and you're not having to type things in and look up other apps. You just pull up that app, pops up on your phone, you click yes, and it logs you in. But you can also do a single sign-on to other products that are out there as well. So it's a nice tie-in. But like you said, Mike, multi-factor, multi-factor, multi-factor.
Yeah.
That's the way
Yeah.
to do it these days.
Yeah, at this point, everyone should definitely have multi-factor authentication in place. I know for our customers, we've been kind of annoying about it. Sorry for all the customers on the call, but we're like, please let us turn this on for you. The other thing we've been recently working with is Microsoft 365 Business Premium, and then Microsoft 365 E3 and above actually has a cool feature called Conditional Access. So you can put conditions within your organization that whether you want people to log in or not. For instance, you can say, hey, within 30 miles of my organization, I don't want people logging in. So even if someone's in, in our case, someone's in a different state or even a different county, they can't log into the SharePoint. The other thing you can do is say, hey, I want my people to be able to access data on their work computers, but if they're trying to log in on their phone, their personal phone, it's only going to give them access to low level things like maybe their personal OneDrive, but not access to any important SharePoint information on their personal phones. Another cool one is time of day. So Microsoft recently said, I forget what report it was, maybe Gartner, that over 90% of breaches could be um, prevented by multi-factor authentication. So literally, the bad guy can have your password, and if you have multi-factor authentication, they can't get in. The other thing is usually most of these compromises are happening after hours, so not the 9 to 5, right? It's in the middle of the night. It's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. because it's foreign actors. Well, if you put a conditional access in policy saying, hey, everyone only, you cannot access our information unless it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern time or Central time or whatever it is. Anything outside of that, locked up. So conditional access is a pretty cool way of just setting those force functions, and they don't impact the user at all. So unless they're trying to log in a time they shouldn't, of course. So those are just a cute few security features. Not to get too much on a tangent, but Microsoft 365 is just such a robust tool, and we got to always consider the security implications there as well. Kamal, we really, really appreciate your presentations. You do a great job. Everyone,
Thanks,
we're going
buddy.
to be sending these recordings out. Don't forget, October 20th, we have our OneDrive training. Probably everyone here uses OneDrive to some extent, so Kamal is going to be going a little more in depth as to things that you can do within OneDrive. And then if you want to see any additional training, something that you want to learn more about, or just something that has been on your plate to learn, please feel free to pitch it to Shane, Mike, Aaron, Andy, Gary, myself, Tom. Pitch it to anybody. And most likely it'll end up on the webinar training for next year because we're running out of ideas. Just kidding, but please send me your ideas. So if there's no questions, because I didn't see any questions in the chat, we can go ahead and conclude. Thank you all so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.